Hello, welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. Today we're in Grand Ronde, Oregon, and we're talking to Oregon State Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
She brought two great brochures to give us a little consumer safety as we go along. And as I'm looking at your top 10 consumer tips, the first item here is to become educated. That's the best way to avoid scams.
Absolutely, and that is a big part of what the Attorney General's office is all about, is protecting and advocating for our most vulnerable Oregonians. In particular, our seniors, who tend to be the targets of a lot of scams, but really everybody. It can happen to any of us. There are sadly a lot of people out there trying to scam and defraud and cheat us out of our hard-earned money.
Oh, and they're just getting better and better because, you know, I'm moving toward the senior citizen age, but I'm not quite there yet as far as the demographic, but I feel like I'm vulnerable to these things too. They're sophisticated.
Exactly. We all are. But truly, if there's an elderly person living alone or even in a nursing home, it's just unbelievable how gullible they are, but also these people have a way of getting under their skin. They study them and they learn how to get to their emotions, get them to wire money to that fake grandchild. You know, there's a grandchild scam, there's a sailor scam, there's an IRS imposter scam. And there are particular Oregonians who are more vulnerable than others to those, but you might be as well.
Well, and our young makeup artist was saying that she got a call from someone saying that she owed a student federal tax and that the police were coming for her.
Right, that's the imposter scam. They're trying to get her to believe that they are actually a collector from the IRS or from some other organization that can actually put them in jail if they don't pay. When in fact, she probably didn't even owe any money. I'm sure she didn't. But that's called an imposter scam. It was the most common scam last year in Oregon.
Wow. Well, I noticed there were some other good pointers in here about ways to reduce your junk mail and maybe to get off the do not call list. And I like the idea here of ordering your annual credit report. I think we all know we're supposed to, and we just let that slip by. Like, you know, it's easy to let a physical slip by.
You know, identity theft is a really big problem as well. We just modernized our identity theft law in Oregon. That was one of my key initiatives at the legislature this year, and I'm very pleased that we were able to do that. So there's identity theft. If you don't check your credit report, you don't know whether or not somebody else might be using your credit card. Somebody else might be using your identity. There are so many ways to have your information stolen these days. So that is very important. That brochure will also tell people how to sign up for our scam alert so that you can be notified in advance of these scams that are out there. You can also get these brochures. You can also download these from our website, OregonConsumer.gov. You can call our hotline. We get thousands of calls every year to our hotline. We respond to every single one of them, and we try to help people so that if they have been cheated, we can help them get their money back. But hopefully they haven't been, and they're helping to alert us to these scams and frauds so that we can teach others how to avoid them. And as I said, especially our most vulnerable.
Well, it's a great service that you provide, and I do think that the elderly and the aging are very vulnerable, but young people starting out, you know, if you're going from high school to college and maybe you're just starting to get a job, starting to develop some credit, I think young people are vulnerable too because they might be casual with their personal information, especially with the social media.
They are so casual with their personal information. And one of the other things that we did at the legislature this year was to pass a law called OSIPA, the Oregon Student Information Protection Act. That is protecting K through 12 online information that might otherwise have been sold or marketed to the wrong people. So the legislature has been very supportive of our privacy initiatives, of our consumer initiatives. We're very appreciative of that. But you're absolutely right. Kids today seem to think that their information that they share with their friends is going to be kept between them, and that's not always the case, unfortunately.
Once it's out there, it's out there.
Yep.
Well, and you also brought another good piece of information, a brochure to help us about making the right decisions when it comes to giving in our charitable donations.
The Attorney General's office supervises the charities that are registered in our state. There are almost 19,000 registered charities in Oregon.
Wow.
So if you're thinking of giving to a charity, you can actually go onto our website and you can find out whether that charity is one that you ought to be considering. There will be certain information that I think will be very valuable to you, and this brochure will help give you some guidance as to wise giving. We call it the Wise Giving Guide.
Well, there are a couple of things that caught my eye in here about if someone's really pressuring you to give on the spot, that was a warning sign, and that a legitimate charity won't have a problem if you want to sleep on it overnight or think about it. And what are some of the other tips you have for people?
Right. Well, it's very important, I think, to be informed about the charity. So before you sign on, when you get a phone call or a letter or an email, you should definitely inquire about whether or not that charity actually uses the money from the donations for the mission of the charity, as opposed to using the money for other purposes, such as paying the fundraisers, the overhead for the charity. Such types of things are very often what the charities use the money for, rather than for the mission of the charity in the first instance. And I shouldn't say very often. Most charities are certainly legitimate, but we have a list of the top 20 worst charities at the end of every year around the holiday times when people are giving, and that's one to check out, and that can also be obtained from our website.
I'll have to get on and look.
Right. So I don't want to suggest that most charities are bad, but there are some that really give like less than 10% of what people donate to the cause of their charity, and you don't want to spend your hard-earned money that you think you're giving to a worthy cause on that kind of overhead.
Right. Well, thank you for explaining these things to us, and thank
Absolutely.
you for coming. This is Ellen Rosenblum. She's Oregon's Attorney General. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. This is Charter Local Edition Northwest, and I'm your host, Dana Cowley.